Welcome to Gut Check Radio. I'm Nick Belden, a chiropractic physician and functional medicine practitioner. The information provided in this podcast is for educational entertainment purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, cure, or treat any disease, and do not apply any of the information you hear without first speaking with your physician.
All right, most important part of this video, okay? If you take away nothing else, take away this right here, right now. When it comes to blood sugar, many of you have probably heard, and I've even talked about it in this series, about the importance of protein intake, fiber, eating diverse amounts of colors and foods and fruits and vegetables in order to stabilize blood sugar. But when it comes to blood sugar, it is my belief that we overemphasize the quality, quote unquote quality, I'll talk about why I put that in quotes in a second, of the food we eat. And we underestimate the quality of our eating environment. What do I mean by this? I'm going to tell you guys a story. When I was in graduate school, I was under incredible amounts of stress. I mean, self-imposed, right? I chose to go through graduate school and to put yourself through all those courses, to maintain a social life, to try and earn a little bit of money, to be able to provide for that social life while you're in graduate school. A lot of things going on, lots of stressors, lots of perceived stressors, like we talked about in the previous tip video. And I was eating about as clean ingredient food, quote unquote clean, as I thought, right? I would come home all day from studying, and I would study some more, but I'd be eating dinner on my bed, trying to be alert and focused while I'm trying to study, blood sugar physiology, while eating ground beef, sweet potato, avocado, berries, fermented foods, eggs, all these clean, nutrient-dense foods. But I would feel miserable after it. And I would feel lethargic and sort of, I was more like drops in energy with eating, which is I even at one time reverted to the OMAD, or the one meal a day, because I found anytime I ate, I would get a drop in mental performance. So I wouldn't eat until the very end of the day, which if you do that long enough can create its own type of blood sugar stress. So I'm getting to this point and I'm eating the most clean ingredient meal ever. And I'm like, how, and grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, everything. I'm like, how do I feel so terrible after eating this? And I remember throughout the same season, there was a break in school and I went home and ate probably some baked goods or some highly palatable, high sugar, high fat foods, but I was eating it around the table with my mom and stepdad and my brother. And I remember I felt fine. I felt completely fine. I felt no change in energy, no change in mental clarity, no changes in vision, no changes in how I felt. And I remember I thought on that night as I lay in bed. I hope my best thoughts come to me as I lay in bed. And I'm sitting there thinking, something's not right here. How is it that I eat a meal that's quote unquote unhealthy and feel completely fine afterward, but that I eat a meal that all the experts would say is pretty healthy? I mean, even the vegan carnivore experts would say for the most part, I had some good stuff in there. They might disagree about some of it. And I feel like absolute garbage afterward. What is going on there? And it led me to, glory be to God, it led me to thinking, oh my goodness, my eating environment. When I was eating the meal on my bed, studying for exams, amongst all that stress, my brain was trying to be in a state of alertness with my studying. It was trying to be in a state of sleep while on my bed, which that's one tip I tell people, is that maybe don't study and sleep in the same spot because your brain, it's hard to differentiate the two. And I'm also trying to eat this big meal. And I have all these things working into the system. I'm not focused on my meal at all. I'm focused on the study material in front of me. And because my brain wasn't directly conscious of the food, I wasn't mindful, it didn't matter how clean of a meal it was. My nervous system, my system itself, my brain was not in a state to digest that meal because my eating environment needed to be more quality than the emphasis I put on my food quality. Brings me to another point. We need to stop assigning morality to food. To me, I've come full circle on this. I used to tell people, eat this, don't eat that. Very often it didn't work. And I never realized why. Is because there is evil in this world. There is. I mean, depending on your belief system, there is evil in this world. But it's not in food. Even God said, and it was good in Genesis. It's all good. Even Jesus says, I believe it's Luke, that it's not what comes in your body that defiles you. It is what comes out of your body that defiles you. And he was saying that all foods are clean. So all food is good. All food is. So to say there are good and bad foods, I don't necessarily think is the case. I mean, some people would put like an avocado and blueberries next to a piece of cake and a cookie and say that's bad and that's good. And I get where they're coming from. Is there more nutrient density in the blueberries and avocado? Yes. But we need more context around the food. Where's the eating environment? Are you eating at a birthday party? Are you eating in a stressed out state from work? Are you eating with family members on Thanksgiving, surrounded by people you love and care about? Moral of the story, we really need to put more emphasis into the quality of your eating environment rather than just is it grass-fed, grass-finished, organic. And this picture here sort of illustrates the story I just said. So you have the person on the right here who looks very distraught, very stressed, but you can, if you see the meal in front of them, it's a salad with spinach. Looks like the most clean ingredient meal on the planet. But look at their state. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see it, but those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, this woman looks so frustrated, so sad, so distraught. And what that's doing is that's putting her nervous system not into a state of rest and digest. It's in the name digest, but it's putting her nervous system into a state of what I've so eloquently heard from my DNRS training, can chemistry. Cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, the stress hormones. And the stress hormones are directly antagonistic to digestive function and to blood sugar stabilization. They actually kick off your liver to output more glucose and put it into your blood. So it's almost like this canned chemistry, which was designed by our creator. And then, if you also have put evolution there as well, to be able to respond to threat, to stress. But this woman here on the right is distraught from, we only know what. Her physiology thinks it's a lion. It could easily be the email she got from her boss. And it puts her blood sugar on a roller coaster by being in that canned chemistry. Again, I have to credit DNRS and Annie Hopper for that. Great work. If you're struggling with chronic conditions, chronic symptoms, I highly recommend you check that out. And then we shift to the left here. And you see this gentleman here, this older gentleman, who's got a piece of pumpkin pie in front of him. You could sort of insinuate maybe he's at a Thanksgiving dinner table. Look at maybe that's his wife next to him smiling, his grandkids, maybe his daughter, all smiling, having a great time, engaged with one another, smiling, making eye contact, right? Like using their hands to talk with one another, engaging their rest and digest, social engagement part of their nervous system. And what we know about that end of the nervous system is that turns on hormones that are called dose chemistry. And so the DNRS has the phrase of give yourself a daily dose. And what is dose? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. All the quote unquote feel good hormones and neurotransmitters and neurochemicals that our body uses. And when we're in more of that state of the rest and digest social engagement system, our blood sugar can stay more consistent. We can have better insulin secretion from the pancreas. We can have all these things associated with a more favorable train tracks like blood sugar response. Even though he's eating pumpkin pie and she's eating spinach, avocado, and chicken, the gentleman eating the pumpkin pie is probably going to have a better glycemic response and a better blood sugar response than the person eating their Whole30 paleo approved meal by themselves in a stress state. So something I've started recommending to my patients is pretend every meal is like Thanksgiving dinner. And I don't mean stuff your face and eat until you can't breathe anymore, but I mean eat in a very elevated emotional state, mindful, peaceful, safe, engaged with others type environment as you would for most of us on Thanksgiving dinner. Now, I realize also by saying that some of us out here might be alone on Thanksgiving, and I completely empathize with you on that. And also, if that is your situation, I'll give you some strategies as well that you can use to sort of try and mimic that state and the sort of the fake it until you make it phrase to get your nervous system into that rest and digest social engagement part of the nervous system. But again, pretend like every meal is Thanksgiving dinner, not from the sense of eating enough pumpkin pie and turkey and sweet potato casserole, which hot take, sweet potato casserole is by far the best dish on Thanksgiving. Not that, but more so eating with people, because it's my belief and my experience, both personally and clinically, that when people are eating mindfully with others, they're less likely to overeat. And that even if they do quote unquote overeat, because they're in such this rest and digest nervous system, their body will have an ability to handle that excess caloric intake.